Hey everybody, welcome to the Happy Harvest Homestead. Right now I am in our shop milking our goat Penny. She is usually the last goat we milk, each milking time twice a day, morning and evening. But this day is special because after milking Penny, we get to milk Millie as part of drying her off. I figured it'd be a good time to turn on the camera this evening and talk a bit about how we dry off our goats. I've tried several ways and we've found what works for us best, and I wanted to share in case it'd be helpful to others. In the unlikely event that you have not met this wonderful goat before, let me introduce you to Millie. She is a 4-year-old purebred Nigerian dwarf doe. We bought her when she was 5 months old, and she has had 3 kiddings on our farm, so both she and I are old hands at this, and she will make a great example. So, as I milk her out, let me explain how we dry off our goats. First, I guess we should set a baseline and zoom out a bit to fully understand the whole picture. So, all goats start off not having milk. Either they have never had babies before, or they were already dried off from last time they gave birth, but you're going to start out with a goat who is not in milk. Then you breed her, and she gets pregnant. And during the end of her pregnancy, her udder will begin to fill up with milk, a bit of colostrum, and then she'll give birth, and then a whole bunch of colostrum and milk will start flooding her udder, and it'll really balloon out. And all of that is for the babies for the first 2 weeks after she gives birth. So she goes from no milk to giving all of her milk to her babies. Once her kids have grown up a little bit and begin to eat solid foods around 2 weeks old, then you transition to kid sharing, which is you get half of the milk and the babies get the other half of the milk. The way we set it up is at nighttime, at 8 o'clock every night, we will lock the babies away from the mom in different stalls, so all the milk mama produces throughout the night stays in her udder. Then at 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 hours later, we'll milk her out. Then once she's empty, we'll let the babies back out with her, and they can drink all the milk she produces during the day. So we get the 12 hours of night milk, and the babies get the 12 hours of day milk. Then, when the babies turn 8 weeks old, they are old enough to wean, so we will separate the babies from the moms permanently, and we start milking twice a day, once every 12 hours. So for us, it's 8 o'clock in the morning we milk, and then 8 o'clock at night we milk, because she is producing so much milk that we want to harvest and use, and milking twice a day ensures that she is not uncomfortable, and also keeps her production up, because we're demanding milk from her body, so she knows, okay, there's a demand, so I'll produce lots of milk. And this is the longest period of time for us. We have really good goats who stay in milk for a really long time, but eventually their milk supply will begin to run down, like it should, and at some point we decide they're not worth milking anymore, and we begin to dry them off. Or, more often in our case, we have bred them again, and it's about 3 months before they're due to give birth, so in preparation for their next batch of babies and the next lactation cycle, we dry them off and let their bodies have all the nutrients that would go towards making milk. All the nutrients then goes towards them growing their babies inside of them, so that we can begin the process over with new milk and higher production in a couple of months. Now, Millie is a special case because she got tetanus, so we decided to dry her off a bit early, so that her body could more fully have nutrients and energy to heal. So that is why she is being dried off, but the other 2 goats who are in milk right now, Tessa and Penny, are not being dried off. So, however and whenever you decide to start drying your goat off, it's a process that takes a couple weeks, and the process we have fallen in love with and that we use is super easy and super simple on the goats. There are some processes where you just let their udder fill up and they're really uncomfortable and big, and then they have to waddle around with this big udder, and then it eventually absorbs back into them or something. Or there's processes where you have to be super strict about things and different dates and keeping track of times, and I don't know. I don't need any more stress in my life than I already have. So the way we are drying off Millie is we went from milking twice a day as usual to milking once a day for a week. And because she was so late in her lactation, it wasn't overly uncomfortable for her to fill up twice as much and go twice as long without milking. If we did this in her peak production period, then her udder would swell up and get really tight because she's making so much milk, and it would be very uncomfortable for her. but because she's already kind of slowing down and not producing as much, she does still fill up more than usual, and there's more milk inside her for longer, but it's not really that bad because she's making less milk overall. So we decided to skip evening milkings for her. So at 8 o'clock every morning, I would come out and I would milk, and in the beginning, I would get twice as much milk than I usually would from her because we were making her wait twice as long. But over that week, because we were demanding less of her body, she naturally started producing less and less milk, so maybe we'd get 1.5 times the usual instead of 2 times the usual. After about a week, I went from milking once a day to milking once every other day, and this further signaled to her body, hey, you don't need to produce as much milk anymore, so you can slowly continue to make less and less. And that's what happened. She would make less and less and less. And then, after a couple days of every other, I went to every 2 days, and then every 3 days. And now I think it's been like 5 days or something since I've milked her out. And as you can see, she has very little milk, comparatively, in her udder. And when it gets to this final stage, at some point you just stop milking her altogether, and there's a little bit of milk in her udder that you leave, and it will absorb back into her body, and then she'll be officially dried off and be able to give her full nutrients to healing her body from tetanus, and also pretty soon getting pregnant and growing babies inside her belly until she gives birth again next year and begins the process again all over. So I may milk her again once or twice this year, maybe like next week and then one time the week after, or it could just be once next week and that's it. We'll just have to see. As I mentioned, we're not super strict about this. There's no exact like calendar dates or anything. I just think, oh, it's been a couple days since I milked her, and let's look at her udder. Oh, it looks kind of full. I should probably milk her out again. Or, it's kind of pretty empty. Maybe I'll wait another day and then check back tomorrow. It's really nice because I can just play it by ear and see what I want to do. So, yeah, there you go. We are done milking Millie now for one of the last times this year. And now you are fully informed on our entire process of drying off goats. The only negative thing about this method is that they keep wanting to be milked because they get treats whenever they do. So whenever I milk Tessa and Penny, Millie's always waiting like, is it my turn? And I'm like, no, we don't get milked this time. And she's like, oh, dang it. Or sometimes she'll sneak in. Like when I open the door for Penny, she'll run in real quick and I have to grab her. And it's kind of a headache sometimes. But I guess it's a good thing when your farm animals want to be with you and want to let you milk them. It kind of shows that you're doing things right. Thanks for watching.